Hello, I'm Malcolm Haslett.
And I'm Janice Baker. Why does the first language we learn mean so much to us for the rest of our life?
I don't know. And do you play video games, and what is their future? Find out this and more on Our Time.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yes, hello. Welcome
Lovely to have
Our
your
Time.
company once again. Janice, you spent some time in France. Did you pick up the language much?
I had to, because I had to sing in French, so I had to learn the language so that I knew what I was singing about.
Oh, but I can speak French. Parlez-vous français? I can say that. And I can say, what's hello?
Bonjour.
Bonjour, bonjour. I can say bonjour. Bonjour to Andrew McKenzie, who is from a French theatre company.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Welcome to Our Time.
Thank you very much.
What's
Nice
that
to
in
be
French?
Merci beaucoup.
Bienvenue, bienvenue à notre, bienvenue à our time. I
Oh,
suppose,
bienvenue.
yeah.
Oh, our time is still the same.
Yeah, you could say notre temps if you wanted.
If only I could. Now, Andrew, it's an interesting thing that you're the president of a theatre company called...
Panache Adelaide French Theatre. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did this all start for you?
Well, I did French in my degree at university, and that was what I was best at.
So it actually came in handy. All those people that have learnt French all those years ago at school.
Yes. I have been one person who's managed to...
Hang on to it.
Make French pay for my life.
Brilliant.
It was pretty good because I became a French teacher, and I'm now a French translator when I'm not doing French theatre.
Do you think you were French were you French in a previous life?
Possibly.
Did you have your head chopped off or something?
Because quite possibly, yes.
Isn't that funny? It's the first thing I think of when you think of French things is guillotine.
He looks very French.
Do you?
Do you think?
Yes, with that beard, it's...
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
so.
with my name, of course, we were a Scottish ancestry
Yes,
originally.
McKenzie.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, so close.
So close.
The Older Lions.
Yeah, could have gone there for holidays.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, making a theatre company, this is an interesting thing for a lot of people who perhaps through most of your life you've been sort of, you know, wondering what am I going to do in retirement, if retirement is the name of the game.
There you go.
Or maybe you've started this before, and it could be anything really, but starting a theatre company, what is really involved in doing that?
Well, you have to know lots of people. I think the theatre company is the people that's in it, really. And I've been...
But that's not just the actors, is it?
No, it's not just the actors. We have to have directors, we have to have tech people, we have to have all sorts of people who would like to be involved, and we could do with a few more of those. We seem to have plenty of actors as a general rule.
Right.
Everyone wants to be a smackter, that's what we say.
Yeah, so our theatre company, our people, congregated, I suppose, around the Alliance Française in Adelaide for many years, and some of us have been... We started performing for the Alliance Française 40 or 50 years ago, and we're still doing it. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we decided to constitute ourselves as an independent body, separate from the Alliance, but we're still involved with them. And so we just produce our plays.
It's a great way to keep the language flowing too, I guess.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful for me to have to learn hundreds of lines of French. It's good for the brain, and it's very good for my French. We're about 50% Australian, 50% French in our company.
Right.
So, yeah, no, rehearsals are sometimes in French, sometimes in English, depending on how we feel on the day.
All right. Wow.
Brilliant, isn't that great? What a good idea.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're aware of those things for people who have perhaps just migrated to Australia, the need to keep your culture alive, but when it wasn't your initial culture.
No, that's right, yeah.
But it's just something that grew from school. I didn't know that, and I'm very interested to hear that.
Yeah.
What are your audiences then? Where do you find your audiences are coming from?
From the Alliance Française, from perhaps the French Teachers Association, from the wider French community, many of whom don't have anything to do with the Alliance. A lot of them come from our friends.
Yes.
You know, it's an amateur theatre company.
Of course.
Friends and relatives.
Yeah.
We put surtitles in English above our plays. Oh. So like at the opera.
Yes.
So that people who don't have much French can understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's quite a business, getting all those surtitles
sure
up there.
it is.
Retyping the entire script in English, translating it and
That's right. Not quite the entire script, because you don't put all the yeses and the nos and the objections and all of those sorts of things in.
Not a lot of we's?
No, not a lot of we's.
Not a lot of we's happening?
No,
What a shame.
no. We figure even the Anglophone audience will understand that bit.
Yeah. You hope so.
I like that. So you're about to... Oh, it just opens in a week, next week or so?
No, a month's time.
No, it's next week.
Yeah. Oh, next week.
Yes.
Yes.
There you
indeed.
go. See, you've lost track of time.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
You're so busy thinking about all this.
Yeah, it opens next week. You are dead right.
Yes.
And it's Le Mariage de Figaro.
Exactly. And in Australian, that's Marriage of Figaro.
Yes.
Just in case.
You said that so
My
well.
surtitle. Do you think so?
God.
And
Tell us about the piece, Andrew. It's not originally a French piece.
oh, yes, it is.
Is it?
Oh, yes, my
Okay.
word. Yes, it was written by Beaumarchais in 1783. And he couldn't get it on because the king saw it and said, you can't put that on, it's too revolutionary. This is Louis XVI, who lost his head 9 years later.
Right.
And
Just what I was saying about the French people and the guillotine.
so it was banned, but 2 years later he got it on. It was a huge success, enormous success, so much so that Mozart then picked it up and wrote an opera.
See, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was a play before it was a
No, I didn't know that either.
Yes.
No, it's learned something
And
new
you
every
worked in...
day.
Exactly, that's why we keep doing this program, Janice.
Not only that, but it was a sequel. And it was the sequel to The Barber of Seville.
Oh,
So Beaumarchais also wrote The Barber of
Barber of
Seville,
Seville.
which then Rossini picked up in about 1820 and turned into another lovely opera.
yeah.
But isn't that interesting that the opera has lived probably stronger or had a
yes.
stronger notoriety?
Yes, well, that's wonderful music, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the
Yes.
basic story is Beaumarchais' story.
But see, sometimes with grand opera, it is difficult to follow the story because, you know, there's a lot of oh-ing going on and you're probably missing the subtlety of the words.
Yes,
if you know what I mean.
indeed. Certainly the libretto is of Marriage of Figaro is de Ponte's, and that's in Italian, and of the opera, and that certainly tells the same story, but in a much simplified way.
Okay.
Andrew, do you know of any other French companies around Australia who are doing something similar?
Yes, the Melbourne French Theatre is a very well-established theatre. They do more than us, they're bigger. Sydney has a very good company, Brisbane has one, Perth has one.
Well, they're all the places this program airs.
There you
And
go.
are they all amateur theatres?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, as we are.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But calling people an amateur theatre company really just means that you're performing because you love it.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people discuss this amateur, pro, and professional thing. I guess if you're not working professionally,
Yes.
in other words, being paid for it, then to do something like this is almost necessary. Otherwise, you lose your skill.
Yeah, yeah.
Same as the language, isn't it?
Indeed. Amateur comes from the Latin word to love,
Right.
and you do something for the love of it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm going to call you amateur from now on.
I know you called that before.
Oh dear, too much laughter.
I don't know.
So Andrew, we know the piece is starting momentarily, and this will be obviously for South Australian audiences, but if you'd like to fly in and see it, it's on at...
Star Theatres on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th of November, and 7:30 evening performance with a Saturday matinee. Yeah.
So it's a huge amount of work for only a few
It
performances.
is a very big amount of work. We have a small audience, and so we just run it over the one weekend.
Right.
And a lot of our actors are
But you're in a
incredibly
reasonably
busy people.
sized theatre too, so...
Yes, it's quite a big theatre, yeah. But a lot of our actors are incredibly busy people, and I don't reckon I'd get them for 2 weekends.
Oh, okay.
No, but I mean, great accolades to all of you for doing this and for keeping the language alive in a country that doesn't speak it fluently.
Yeah.
And I'm interested because obviously it's at my theatre this is on, but and I see the people coming in speaking French, and they'll come up to me and speak in French, and I go, no, sorry, and they know from the nasal tone that
Je
definitely.
suis désolé, je ne parle pas français. That's
It's
what
just
you
up the
say.
corridor on the left. I say a lot of that.
Oh, okay.
So good luck with it, Andrew.
Thank you very
and,
much. Yeah.
We're really keen to find out more in the future for other things that you do.
Yes, that would be great. Yeah.
So a final word to everybody is just that if you're really looking for something special or different, it's good because you can read all of the things that are being said above the stage, isn't it?
Yes,
Just above the stage?
yes, just above the stage.
It's
yes.
in English if you don't speak French, but I love the idea for like French students or anybody who did learn the language at school to see if they how much they still remember.
Yes, I know.
And you're a really strong company, so congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
And all the very best of luck.
Oh, thank you.
Or break a leg, I should say.
Yes, well, the French say merde.
Oh,
What
yes,
do
well,
they
I
say?
know what that means. No, we won't translate that one. Yes, they do.
Afterwards, I'll find out what that means. And we'll be back with Jessica Citizen talking about the rise of gaming at home. Welcome back.
Yes. Now, tell me, in your spare time, which you don't have, do you play video games?
What are they?
Oh, Malcolm. You know, they're supposed to be very good for your brain. Let's speak to
Is that why?
someone
Yes.
here that can tell
Not
us
Jessica
more.
Citizen, is it?
Yes, that can tell us more about that. Jessica, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
So just enlighten Malcolm on the fact of the rise of gaming at home.
She's saying that because she knows nothing. Neither do I, Jessica.
I'm surprised that you know, that you claim to know nothing about this. There are so many people in Australia who have video games. It's something like 85% of Australian households now have a video game machine in their house.
What
And,
about people like us over 40?
over 40-year-olds are playing plenty of games. Apparently.
What about over
well, not
60?
them as well? Obviously,
70?
not in the presence of any of these. Yes, over 70-year-olds are playing video games. There is recent statistics have come out that say that particularly women over 65, there are more women over 65 who are playing video games than teenage girls.
Why do you think that is?
Part of it is because teenage girls are doing a whole bunch of other stuff. But the other part of it is that when you reach a certain age, you have a bit more time on your hands. So once upon a time, you might have played cards with your friends and had your friends come over to play cards. Now you can do that online, or you can play cards on your phone or on your computer, or even on a console. It's also that if you look at the way that gaming habits change over time, little kids play a few games, then teenagers play a lot of games, and then it drops off as people become adults and they start having real commitments and real things that they need to spend their time on. And then as they get older and maybe the kids grow up and you don't need to look after them quite as much, or you might leave, your working life might come to an end, then you have more free time on your hands, and then what else are you going to do? You're going to sit down and go, I would like to see what this video game thing is all about.
Yes, but for somebody like me who I'm just sort of thinking maybe I should be doing more things to keep my brain active, which is probably what my age group are thinking. How do you start? How do you actually find out about what's the best thing?
Do you have a smartphone? Do you have an iPhone or an Android phone? You can go on the App Store and you can look up, there's all manner of brain training games and apps that are available.
Yep.
They came out a while ago. They came out of Japan. Everyone thought they were the next big thing. Then a whole bunch of people scoffed at them and poo-pooed them because why would you play games to actually achieve anything? But the statistics and the studies have come back now that show that they do actually keep your brain more active, and they can help ward off dementia and Alzheimer's and that sort of age-related declining mental health.
The only I had this picture in my head then of sitting in front of the television with a control, doing Game of Thrones or something, which I mean, this is what you said.
Is that a game? I thought that was a TV series.
That's a game, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
but.
So there are. I hadn't actually thought about the fact that you can find these things on your iPad
on your iPad
phone.
or your iPhone, exactly, or on your PC. There are plenty of games on Facebook that will do that sort of thing as well. It all depends on what you want to do. You'll be able to find games that suit you. It isn't all sitting in front of a PlayStation and doing this, or even you don't have to get the Wii and get out and start playing Wii tennis and Wii bowling and that sort of thing.
Well, I suppose that's what most people think of, is they're sitting like in front of some sort of console with levers or driving a thing or something. But Jessica, how did making a TV program, and your program is called?
A player attack.
And it goes...
It's a weekly show. We've been producing it. We're in the middle of the 5th season at the moment. We do about 40 episodes a season because gaming news happens all year round.
Of course.
It came out...
From your bedroom?
It did, yes. I started out as a video games journalist, so I was writing for a website. Then my producer and I came up with the idea of maybe, you know, I would stand up in front of a camera and read the sort of stuff that I was writing, and so that became a 5-minute vidcast that we put on YouTube. And then we were also doing interviews at consumer events, so things like Oz Comic Con and PAX and E3 in Los Angeles. So we would do those 5-minute interviews, and so then we went, hang on, if we take this 5-minute news and then these 3 5-minute interviews and stick them together,
you've got a program.
We've got a TV show. And so we started airing on Aurora on Foxtel 4.5 years ago, and since then we've branched into community television on Channel 44 and Channel 31.
And how important do you think this is to have on free-to-air television?
I think it's incredibly important to have it on free-to-air television. I think that there are many people who think that people who are into video games in particular, because that's where I work, that people are only going to watch YouTube and they're going to sit down and they're going to watch, you know, things, or they're going to listen to podcasts and they're going to get all of their entertainment online. I don't think that's the case. The number of people who come up and tell me that they watch Channel 44 or they watch Channel 31 or they watch Aurora and they're like, I know you from that show.
Yes.
That's really great.
We get it all the time, to be honest.
Yeah. And while, I mean, I know that I watch less TV than I used to, but there are still...
That's because you've got a little boy.
I do.
And you'd be watching The Wiggles.
Play school. And obviously I'm playing too many video games to have the TV on actual television. But there's definitely an audience, and it's something that is really important. Also to get this sort of grassroots voice out. I mean, we're a small production company. There's 2 of us who work on it most of the time. There's me who works on it full time. My partner works on it part time. We have an assortment of hosts and writers and editors who sort of rotate in and out as their timetables and schedules allow. Some of them are at uni, some of them work.
Also, I suppose, as they're connecting with the new information games, whatever that
exactly.
Is coming out.
So there are some people who didn't do, you know, who have sort of been really quiet for a while because there weren't any games that came out that interested them, and then all of a sudden they'd be, oh, here's 16 reviews that I've written because all of these great new strategy games have all just come out, and here you go. So it's that sort of thing. But because we are such a small group, that's not the sort of voice that you can hear on big name games media or big name media or that sort of thing.
Well, a lot of free to air, that's the thing.
And definitely not on free to air.
No.
Player Attack is also different. There are other gaming shows that are on national free to air television. Player Attack is slightly different because we aren't targeting kids and we aren't targeting teenagers. Our original pitch was that our target audience would be 25, 27-year-old bloke who really likes his games, but he does plenty of other stuff as well. Since then, we've actually had to adjust that up because the average age of the Australian gamer is now 34 years old and 48% female.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it?
Gosh.
But I can believe that because when the games first came out, it's not in my age group, it's the age group before me sort of thing. And they'd be talking about that and I kept thinking, no, I've got far too much life to live to be able to play games and stuff. But in many ways, I suppose, it's like creating your own movies at home.
Yeah.
Because all this wonderful imagery is there. It didn't start off to be that wonderful, but then it became more and more and more sophisticated.
Yes.
It's mind-boggling that the people, the artists who create and the programmers that create this stuff have got these wonderful imaginations. In a way, I'm looking at the painting on the wall, but I'm just thinking, in a way, it is like a piece of art that is just constantly changing and growing, and you're directing the way that it's changing.
Absolutely.
Because it's not all about races, is it?
No. There are plenty of games that have nothing to do with driving fast cars, and there are, for also what it's worth,
or shooting people.
There are many, many games that are not about shooting people. There are also games that are not about sport. Some of my favourite...
What about needlepoint and bushcraft?
Believe it or not, there are cross-stitch games.
You didn't expect that answer, did you?
There are patchwork games. Actually, there is a a game that started out as a tabletop game, so like a board game, that has now also become a video game where you will play against another person and you have a selection of patches, they have a selection of patches, and you have to cover more of the board with more patches and more colours than your opponent and make a lovely quilt by the end.
Amazing.
Isn't it,
That's
though?
incredible.
And that's just it. It is amazing. Yeah. And in our lifetime, we've seen snakes and ladders go to this, haven't we? That's the reality. And you made a really interesting point at the beginning. People used to play cards together.
Yes.
And you don't see that so much, but I've got some people that work with me who do actually go and have card nights. And it's like a younger generation has rediscovered the games that their grandparents played.
Yes.
I just wonder how this cycle is going to continue.
I think along the same lines as there are people who are now going out and hunting for vinyl records.
I've got lots.
Exactly.
Everybody wants them.
We have to.
So does my dad. It's all cyclical. If it's and also you rebel against what your parents do, which is part of it, and you go to find there is always a bunch of people who will try and find the purest form of any entertainment, and so rather than playing card games on your computer, why not play the real thing? But at the same time, if you don't have mates who live nearby, or your usual card partners have gone overseas for a holiday or are studying internationally or even just in a different city, there are ways now that you can sit down with the same people that you've always played cards with, and you can play cards with them on the internet instead.
So Jessica, there's a camera. Why don't you tell everybody at home exactly when they can watch your show?
You can watch Player Attack on Channel 44 in Adelaide on Friday nights at 7 o'clock. We are also on Aurora on Friday nights as well. I'm not sure when we're on in Melbourne. And we are also online. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We are on Patreon if people want to support us and help give us money. We're also at playerattack.com and everywhere else. So if you look for Player Attack, you'll probably find us.
So in Perth they can find it as well?
Yes.
Yep, fantastic. So we hope you can look that up, because that's actually been...
Going home to check my iPad now to see what games I can play.
Quite. No, but that's been an eye-opener for me as well. So we'll be back shortly to say goodbye to Jessica and also to Andrew. We hope you can stay with us till then.